I remember one particular child a few years back in middle elementary. At that time, he did not see himself as a writer, but one day he came to me during writing class and he just had something to say. He said, "Have you ever noticed that when boys do girl-like things like dance, or I don't remember the other thing he said was like, oh, wear pink." He said people laugh at them, people make fun of them. But if girls do boyish things, like wear a baseball cap or play in a rough sport, people think they're cool. Why is that? And here is a 4th grade boy posing a question that would stump most of us, and he was ready to answer it. So later that day, he wrote his first opinion essay, and he shared it with an admiring class. They were very respectful of this problem he saw. And he has since become such a devoted writer that he has started his own kid-run newspaper. I just really feel like that's the power of knowing that adults will listen to you, that what you say matters, and that you know yourself well enough to take a risk on that. And that's a testament to our school, I believe. So we want our kids to be able to say what they think, but they must learn to do so in a manner that does not offend other people. We want them to understand that, in the words of the International Baccalaureate mission statement, others, with their differences, can also be right. With this in mind, Whitby teachers help shape each child's relationship to others, whether peers or adults, members of the school community or the global community. We want them to become advocates for themselves and to be able to settle their disputes responsibly and productively. The word discipline comes from the word disciple, which I'm sure many of you know means student. So to discipline someone literally means to teach. As a parent, I will always feel indebted to the many teachers who have disciplined my children here at Whitby. If you could be a fly on the wall, you would hear teachers helping children communicate their feelings in the midst of little conflicts every day. In primary, children are led to the peace table to settle differences, mediated by a teacher. Yesterday, I visited a few of the peace tables in preparation for today, and I saw that the teachers always have a living plant on the table. Some of them tie the children's promises to the leaves of the plant to remind them that they've made a concrete commitment to change something. It's really beautiful. A couple of years later, when the children reach LE, the teachers are slower to jump in. Usually they'll say, "Did you talk it over with your friend? Don't come to me until you've talked to each other." And by the time my children reached middle elementary, they were taking turns setting the agenda for the weekly community meetings. And my son asked me to let you know that during these meetings, the teachers do not participate. That's one of the rules. So he said, unless we get really rowdy, which rarely happens. So the children take turns problem solving as a group, and one child mediates and keeps the meeting running effectively. This process, which I wish I could manage more in our house, helps children to appreciate both sides of a dispute, to see the nuances of an argument. By the time children are 9 and 10 years old, they are beginning to grasp the complexities of different perspectives. In fact, the ME teachers and students and I spent well over a month last fall talking about the opposing points of view in the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the Chinese Cultural Revolution. Along these lines, I believe that all of us mothers share the hope of the Whitby School and the International Baccalaureate Organization that our children will grow up to be internationally minded, responsible adults. We all recognize that we are raising our children amidst quite a privileged community and affluence. While this may make our parenting job a little easier in the short term, because we don't have to worry about feeding our children and clothing them, it poses special challenges as our children approach adolescence. We know we need to be doing more than raising children who will, in turn, get a good education and earn good money. We want our children to recognize their potential for influence in the world and to use that influence to make the world a better place, not only for themselves and their own dear children, but for everyone and all children to come. It's one thing to talk about our role from time to time when something catastrophic happens, like an earthquake or a tsunami. It's quite something else to do what each one of us is doing. We're placing our children in a school that by its very definition has made a firm commitment to our global community. I have seen the primary teachers planting seeds of global responsibility in so many small ways. By reading books that tell children stories of children living on other places on the other side of the globe, by marking holidays that might not be widely celebrated here, and by inviting parents to come in to share their culture with the children on a regular basis. If a child sees, for example, that the culture of Africa or India or Iran belongs to her friend and neighbor, I think on some unconscious level that child is saying, the culture of Iran and Africa are familiar somehow, and these people are my neighbors too. If you had been with us in Middle Elementary a little while ago in the winter, you might have been impressed to see the children there who had been studying economics, taking their learning beyond our school and out into the world. After learning about how to keep personal bank accounts, the teacher read the applications of small business owners from around the globe who had applied for microloans through kiva.org. The students raised money by selling their own used toys and books, and chose to lend that money to a few applicants from across the globe, once again reminding us that all of our choices at home can have an impact far away. Similarly, students in the middle school, I remember last year, and I believe this year also, have been collecting money to simply buy mosquito netting for children living in Africa, where malaria continues to be such a pervasive problem and is so devastating for families there. Allowing our children to give back and to be part of the solution to the world's problems as they become aware of them is very empowering. I think if you don't do that, your children can hold anxiety because they feel powerless, and giving them something to do that's concrete is just a gift to them. It is the ultimate form of respect to teach each child, although you are young, you are capable and you can change the world. Lastly, and just as importantly, the intellectual life of the child awaits us as mothers and as teachers. Here at Whitby, we practice a unique approach to learning that I think each of you will find very familiar. In educational language, it's called inquiry-based learning, but to you mothers, it's what you do every time you listen to your child's questions and discuss them. At school, we're busy every day helping the child interpret their experiences in the world at large. I like to think of learning as building a jigsaw puzzle. And that's why hopefully you can, When we engage in inquiry, we show the children the whole picture first, a vision of what we will discover together. We ask them to notice things. As they take it apart, the children begin to understand the relationship of the parts to the whole, enabling them to put the puzzle back together on their own. What distinguishes the inquiry model from a more traditional mode of teaching is the role of the teacher as a facilitator rather than the keeper of knowledge. Our students don't have to wait weeks for the teachers to dole out each piece that may at that time even seem irrelevant out of context. They don't have to wait weeks for the picture to emerge, to come into focus. They ask us for the pieces they need.